Story 1, The Breathing Road. The asphalt was inhaling beneath my tires. I felt it first as a rhythm in the steering wheel, a slow, deliberate pulse that matched no mechanical failure I'd experienced in 23 years of hauling freight. The Dalton Highway stretched ahead into absolute darkness, my headlights carving a tunnel through February's perpetual night. And with each breath the road took, my rig sank half an inch deeper into pavement that should have been frozen solid at -40 degrees. My name is Robert Hayes. I was driving a load of drilling equipment to Deadhorse, a route I'd driven 67 times before. The date was February 19th, 2022. I remember because it was my daughter's birthday and I'd promised to call her from Coldfoot. I never made that call. The breathing started at mile marker 174, just past the turnoff to Weissman. At first, I thought it was ice heave, the road buckling from permafrost shifts beneath. But ice heave doesn't happen in patterns. Ice heave doesn't synchronize with your heartbeat, and ice heave sure as hell doesn't speed up when you try to accelerate away from it. I'd been driving for 11 hours straight, pushing through to make my delivery window. The northern lights had been dancing green and purple across the sky for the past hour, bright enough to cast shadows inside my cab. Beautiful, hypnotic. Wrong. They weren't moving like they should, weren't flowing and rippling, but pulsing. The same rhythm as the road. The same rhythm now echoing in my chest. My CB crackled. "Breaker 19, anybody got ears on the Dalton tonight?" Static answered. I tried again. "This is Kodiak 65, northbound at marker 174, anybody copy?" Nothing but white noise and something underneath it, a sound like wet breathing, raspy and deep. The temperature gauge on my dashboard read -38, but sweat was running down my spine. I could see my breath fogging in the cab despite the heater running full blast, and beneath me, the road exhaled. My truck rose on the swell, then settled as the asphalt contracted. I checked my mirrors, empty highway behind me stretching into darkness. No headlights, no taillights, no civilization for 83 miles in either direction, just me and this thing I was driving on that was definitely, impossibly breathing. The pulse quickened. My speedometer showed 62 miles per hour. I was doing 62 on a road that was alive, and it was waking up. The asphalt began to warm beneath my tires. I could feel it through the vibration in the cab, could see steam rising in my headlights where snow touched the pavement and instantly melted. The temperature outside was still dropping. My external thermometer now read -41, but the road was hot. I grabbed my CB again. "Mayday, mayday, this is Kodiak 65 on the Dalton Highway, mile marker 177, experiencing..." What? Experiencing what? A sentient highway? I'd sound insane. I was insane. Had to be. Carbon monoxide leak, maybe. Heater malfunction flooding my cab with fumes, making me hallucinate. But the smell hit me then, pouring through my air vents. Organic, rotten, like meat left too long in a warm truck, like the inside of something's throat. The road was breathing faster now, heaving up and down in waves that traveled beneath my 18 wheels. I could see them in my headlights, ripples in the asphalt, moving north to south against my direction of travel. They looked like peristalsis, like a throat swallowing. I slammed the accelerator down. My engine roared Jake brake screaming as I pushed to 70, then 75. The road buckled harder, breathing turning to gasping. Each inhalation pulled my truck down, tires sinking into pavement that had gone soft, almost liquid. Each exhalation thrust me forward with force that made my cargo chains rattle. Mile marker 182 flashed past, then 183. I was making distance, but the breathing was everywhere now, synchronized across miles of highway. I wasn't escaping it. I was driving deeper into it, down into whatever throat had opened beneath my wheels. My phone had no signal. It never did this far north, but it was trying to connect to something. The screen showed full bars for half a second, then nothing, then full bars again. When it connected, my phone dialed automatically. I watched it happen, watched my screen light up with an outgoing call to a number I didn't recognize. All zeros. 27 zeros. Someone answered. No, something answered. The breathing from my CB, from the road, from the air vents, was suddenly coming through my phone speaker. Close, intimate, directly into my ear. "Turn back." The voice was mine. My exact voice, my inflection, my slight southern accent from growing up in Georgia, but I hadn't spoken. "Turn back, Robert. You're going the wrong way." I wasn't touching the phone. It sat in my cup holder, speaker on, and my voice kept talking to me. "The road only goes one direction. Now don't." I threw the phone against the passenger window. It shattered, screen going dark, but the voice continued from the CB, from the dashboard speakers, from everywhere. "Down, Robert, we all go down. You've been going down since marker 174. Haven't you noticed?" I had, God help me, I had noticed. My altimeter, installed because some of my routes crossed mountain passes, had been dropping steadily. I was at 1,247 feet elevation when the breathing started. Now I was at 983 feet. But the Dalton Highway doesn't lose elevation here. This stretch runs across flat coastal plain. I should have been at roughly 1,200 feet for the next 100 miles. I was descending into the earth while driving on flat ground. The road's breathing became labored, wheezing. My tires were sinking deeper with each inhalation, pavement gripping them like mud, like quicksand, like a throat constricting around meat. I could hear my tire treads squelching through what had been frozen asphalt 2 hours ago. The smell was overwhelming now, decay and stomach acid and something else, something that smelled like cold, like the spaces between stars. Mile marker 190 should have appeared, didn't. Instead, another 183, then 181. I was losing ground, being pulled backwards, swallowed down. My headlights caught movement ahead. The center line, that yellow stripe dividing the highway, was undulating, writhing. As I watched, it split lengthwise, parting like lips, and beneath I saw red. Wet, glistening red. The road had a mouth, and I was driving toward it. I spun the wheel hard right, aiming for the shoulder, for the tundra, for anything that wasn't this breathing highway. My truck lurched, tilted, and the soft pavement grabbed my wheels. I felt them sink, felt the road's exhalation push hot, fetid air up through my floorboards. The organic smell was so thick I could taste it, copper and rot and something sweet like antifreeze. The engine screamed. My truck wasn't moving forward anymore. The tires spun uselessly in asphalt that had the consistency of half-melted tar, and I was sliding backward, being drawn down toward that opening in the road. The mouth was widening, red center expanding, and I could see depth beneath. Not the gravel and permafrost that should be under highway. Depth, distance, an impossible throat descending into earth. My CB exploded with voices. Dozens of them, hundreds, all calling their maydays, all giving positions on the Dalton Highway, all using different names, different dates. I heard March 1998 and December 2015 and January 2024. I heard panic and prayers, and the moment voices cut off mid-scream. I understood then. I wasn't the first. This thing had been feeding for decades, taking trucks and drivers one at a time, spread out enough that we'd never noticed the pattern. Isolated disappearances on a dangerous highway in the middle of nowhere. Mechanical failures, driver error, weather, always an explanation. The altimeter read 427 feet, dropping fast. My truck tilted backward at a 30-degree angle now, sliding down the road's throat. Equipment in my trailer was shifting, crashing. The chains holding my cargo snapped with sounds like gunshots. 2 tons of drilling pipe broke loose and smashed through my trailer wall, spearing out into the darkness behind me. I grabbed my door handle. If I could jump, maybe reach the tundra on foot, get away from the highway. My door wouldn't open. I pulled, kicked, threw my shoulder against it. Locked, but I hadn't locked it. The lock button kept pushing itself down every time I pulled it up, engaging again and again with mechanical precision. "The road provides," my voice said from the CB. "The road consumes. You agreed when you drove on it. You've always been food, Robert, since mile marker 174. Since the first time you drove this route 23 years ago. We just hadn't finished digesting the others yet." My windshield was pointing at the sky now, my truck vertical, sliding down. The northern lights pulsed above, green and purple and red, and I could see they weren't lights at all. They were something in the upper atmosphere watching, waiting, connected to whatever had opened beneath me. The lights were its eyes. I fell for 6 minutes, my truck vertical, then tumbling, slamming against walls of compressed earth and rock that were too smooth, too organic. I felt ribs crack when I hit the ceiling-turned wall, felt my wrist snap. The smell was unbearable. I vomited, then vomited again. The descent was silent except for metal grinding and my screaming. Then stillness. My truck had stopped, wedged in a space too small for it. I couldn't see anything beyond my shattered windshield except darkness. My headlights were gone, battery dead or cables severed. The only light came from my dashboard, some circuits still alive, drawing power from somewhere. The breathing continued, all around me. I was inside it now in a stomach or chamber somewhere beneath the highway. My radio still worked. Still playing voices. I recognized some now, other drivers I'd known, ones who'd had accidents on the Dalton. Jerry Mitchell, missing in 2007. Sarah Chen disappeared 2011. They were all here, all calling their maydays, all still trying to report their positions like they hadn't been gone for years. I tried my door again. This time it opened easily, swinging out into perfect darkness. I climbed out onto what felt like ground but wasn't. It was warm, soft, pulsing with that same rhythm. Breathing ground, living ground. My eyes adjusted slowly. There was light down here, bioluminescence maybe, a faint green glow that outlined shapes, other trucks. Dozens of them half dissolved into the organic walls, metal corroding, merging with whatever this space was made of. Some were ancient. I saw a 60s-era Kenworth cab crushed flat. Others were recent. I found Sarah Chen's Peterbilt, the one she'd been driving when she vanished. The driver's seat was empty, but the steering wheel was covered in something crystalline, like frozen bacteria or salt formations. When I touched it, it was warm. I don't know how long I walked. Hours? The space was massive, honeycombed with chambers, all pulsing with breath. I found the voices eventually. Found where the CB signals were coming from. The drivers were part of the walls. Fused into them, bodies intact but merged with the organic material, skin grafted to membrane, lungs breathing in sync with the road's breath. They were alive, conscious. Their eyes tracked me as I passed. Their mouths moved, speaking their maydays over and over, stuck in that moment of terror, broadcasting on frequencies that only reached other doomed drivers. I found Jerry Mitchell. He saw me, recognized me. His mouth shaped words, new meat. Then he smiled. They all smiled. I ran, climbed, fought my way back toward where my truck had fallen. The walls contracted around me, breathing faster, trying to hold me, digest me, make me part of the chorus. I felt skin tearing from my palms where I grabbed walls that were too hot, too alive. Felt something in the air changing my lungs, making each breath hurt, making each inhalation sync with the road's rhythm despite my fighting it. I don't remember reaching the surface. I remember light, gray, and cold and snow on my face. I was at mile marker 174, lying on the shoulder. My truck was gone. My cargo was gone. According to my phone, new, undamaged. I'd been gone 15 minutes. But my hands were burned. My ribs were broken. My wrist was shattered. And when I breathed, it matched the rhythm of the highway beneath me. I reported mechanical failure. Jackknifed and went into the ditch, they said. Cargo was a total loss. They found my trailer 2 miles south, empty, torn open from inside. Found my truck's cab 6 miles north, also empty. Found nothing else. I don't drive the Dalton anymore. Don't drive any highway at night. Because now I can feel them all breathing. Every road, every highway, every stretch of asphalt in the world pulses with that same slow rhythm. Most people don't notice. Their breathing sinks automatically, unconsciously. They become part of it without knowing. But I know. I feel it every time I drive, that gentle inhalation beneath my tires. And sometimes, late at night on empty highways, I hear my voice on the CB, calling from underground, adding my mayday to the chorus. Still broadcasting from somewhere beneath mile marker 174. Still breathing with the road. Story 2, the duplicate mile. Mile marker 247 passed my window 17 times before I accepted something was fundamentally wrong with reality. I'd been counting. Obsessively. Because Catherine Morrison, 41 years old, 15 years driving refrigerated cargo across Alaska, doesn't make mistakes about distance. My odometer confirmed it. I'd driven 83 miles. But the markers kept saying 247. The load in my reefer was human organs, medical transport, time-sensitive. 5 hours to get from Anchorage to Fairbanks, or 3 people died waiting for transplants. I had 4 hours left, and I was stuck in the same goddamn mile of the park's highway, living it over and over like a skipping record. It was April 3rd, 2023. Spring breakup, that miserable season when Alaska's roads turned to shit and ice. Temperature hovering right at 32 degrees, snow melting into slush, refreezing at night into black ice patches that could flip a truck before you knew what hit you. Perfect conditions for an accident. Terrible conditions for what was actually happening. The first time I passed marker 247, everything was normal. Second time, I thought I'd been daydreaming, missed some markers. Third time, I checked my GPS. It showed my position moving north steadily, making good time. But out the window, marker 247. Fourth time, I pulled over. Checked my load, still humming, maintaining temperature, organs still viable. Checked my gauges, all normal. Checked my head, probably not normal, but I felt fine, alert, sober, terrified. I keyed my CB. Breaker 19, this is Cold Snap 42, northbound parks at marker 247. Is anyone else experiencing any, navigational anomalies? Professional. Calm. Not, is anyone else trapped in a fucking time loop? A voice crackled back immediately, female, panicked. Oh, thank Christ you're here. I've been alone for how long have you been looping? My blood went cold. 5 times you. I don't know anymore. I stopped counting at 90. 90, Jesus Christ. What's your 20? Mile marker 247. Northbound, where the fuck else would I be? I looked in my mirrors, saw nothing but empty highway, slush, and darkness. I don't see you. You won't, I can't see you either. I think we're static. Then her voice came back, different, flat. Don't stop counting, Cold Snap. When you stop counting, you stop noticing. When you stop noticing, you become the mile. The radio went dead. I tried calling back. Nothing. My GPS showed me passing marker 250, out my window 247. Sixth time, seventh, I started documenting. Took photos on my phone every time the marker passed. Later, looking at them, I'd see they were identical, same angle, same lighting. Same snowflake frozen on my passenger window in the exact same position. Not similar. Identical, reality taking a photograph of itself and showing it to me again and again. 10th time, the sun was wrong. It had been setting when I entered the loop low on the horizon. Now it was in the same position, but I'd been driving for an hour. It should have set completely. Instead, it was frozen there, balanced on the edge of the world, neither rising nor falling. A sunset paused mid-breath. 15th time, I saw the other truck. Just a flash in my peripheral vision, there and gone, but definitely a truck. White Freightliner refrigerated trailer driving parallel to me but displaced, like we occupied the same space but different frequencies. I caught the driver's face for half a second. A woman my age, terror in her eyes, mouth open, screaming something I couldn't hear. I realized I was looking at myself, not a reflection. Me from another loop, another iteration, another one of the infinite times I'd driven past marker 247. We were stacking. All the versions of me, all the times I'd been here, layering on top of each other. 20th time. My reefer alarm went off, temperature fluctuation. I checked the back, opened the trailer. The organs were fine, perfect stasis, but they'd moved. The heart transplant, designated for a 47-year-old man in Fairbanks, was now in a different cooler than where I'd loaded it. The kidneys had swapped positions. Someone had been in my trailer. Someone had reorganized my cargo while I was driving. I slammed the trailer door and ran back to my cab. Checked the seal. Unbroken, checked the locks, secure. No one had been inside, but the organs had moved. 25th time. I tried going backwards, shifted into reverse and back down the highway, watching my odometer count down. If I was stuck in 1 mile, maybe I could exit through the entrance. Mile marker 247 approached from the wrong direction. I held my breath. It passed. I saw marker 246. Relief flooded through me for exactly 3 seconds. Then I crossed 246 and saw 247 again. The mile had no entrance. The loop had closed behind me. 30th time. The other voices started on the CB, not the woman from before, others. Marker 247, southbound, day 43. Marker 247, heading west. How is anyone heading west? There is no west. Marker 247, marker 247, marker 247, the organs are moving again. Why are the organs moving? That last one was me, my voice, but I hadn't spoken. I grabbed my CB mic. Who is this? Who's using my voice? My voice answered, you're me. Iteration 247. I'm iteration 1893. Stop counting, Catherine. It's easier when you stop counting. I threw the CB mic. It bounced off my dashboard and the cord wrapped around my gearshift, coiling like something alive. I grabbed for it and missed, and my truck drifted right. I corrected. When I looked up, there were more trucks. Dozens of them, hundreds, all white freightliners with refrigerated trailers, all driving northbound on the Parks Highway, all driven by me. I could see them clearly now, no longer just flashes, but solid, real, occupying the same road. Some were ahead, some behind, some phasing through my truck. I felt the cold wash of displaced air as they passed through me. Some of those other Catherines were crying. Some were laughing. Some had their eyes closed, hands off the wheel, trucks driving themselves. One was covered in blood, beating against her windshield from the inside. Another's cab was full of water, and she was drowning, still gripping the wheel. Another was on fire, skin melting, still driving. They were all possible versions, all the ways this loop could break me, all the iterations I might become. 40th time, I stopped my truck, put it in par. If I wasn't moving, maybe the mile couldn't repeat. Maybe I could starve it out, wait for rescue, wait for anything other than this endless repetition. My truck rolled forward anyway, engine off, parking brake engaged, gear in park, wheels locked. But I was moving, coasting down the highway at exactly 63 miles per hour, the same speed I'd been traveling when I entered. The mile was driving me now. I opened my door and jumped, hit the pavement hard, felt my shoulder dislocate, my knee explode with pain. I tumbled, rolled to a stop in the slush on the shoulder. My truck continued without me, driving itself north. I watched it pass marker 247, watched it disappear around the bend. Then it appeared behind me, approaching from the south. Same truck, engine still off, no driver. It rolled past me and I saw myself in the driver's seat, not a ghost. Solid, real. That version of me was staring straight ahead, hands at 10 and 2, expression blank. She didn't see me lying on the roadside. She was still in the loop, still driving. The truck passed marker 247 and vanished, appeared from the south again. This time I was in the driver's seat screaming. Next loop I was slumped over the wheel, maybe dead. Next loop I wasn't there at all. The cab was empty, but the truck drove on. I ran, injured leg screaming, shoulder useless. I ran south down the highway. If the truck was looping, maybe I could escape on foot. Marker 247 approached. I held my breath, closed my eyes, crossed it. Opened my eyes to marker 247 ahead of me. I'd run 200 yards. My fitness tracker confirmed it, but I was back where I started. 50th time, 60th. I lost the exact count, started using hash marks on my arm with a pen from my emergency kit. Realized I was carving into skin, too deep, drawing blood. Didn't care, had to count. Had to know how many times reality broke me. 70th time. The organs were moving again. I could hear them. My trailer doors were closed, but I could hear the coolers being opened, rearranged, closed. Someone whistling while they worked. A tune I almost recognized. I broke into my own trailer with a tire iron. The scene inside stopped my heart. The organs were arranged in a circle on the floor, heart in the center. Kidneys, liver, lungs forming points around it like a compass rose. They were connected now, tubes growing between them, organic tissue linking them into a single organism. The heart was beating, the lungs were breathing, and the whole arrangement was oriented north. Pointing toward Fairbanks, toward their intended recipients. The organs were trying to complete their journey. They were aware, desperate, attempting to navigate through the loop using themselves as a map. I destroyed it, ripped the connections apart, threw the organs back in their coolers. The heart kept beating in my hands, strong, insistent. I felt it pulse against my palms and I screamed. 3 people were going to die because I couldn't complete this delivery. 3 people who'd probably been dying for hundreds of loops, Schrödinger's transplant patients, both saved and dead until I finally arrived. If I ever arrived. 80th time, 90th. I stopped counting. She was right. Iteration 1893 was right. It was easier. Time became meaningless. I drove past marker 247, drove past marker 247, drove. No more terror, just repetition. Comfortable, familiar. This mile was my home now, my world. Nothing existed before marker 247, nothing after, just this eternal present. I don't know when I noticed the passengers. They were in my cab, had always been in my cab, sitting in places I wasn't looking. When I watched the road, I felt them in my peripheral vision. When I checked my mirrors, I sensed them beside me. Other drivers, the ones who stopped counting long before me. They were part of the mile now. They'd been absorbed. They existed in the spaces between iterations, in the quantum foam between one loop and the next. They whispered to me, told me to relax, accept it, become the mile. Let go of before, let go of after, just be here now, forever now. I'm not sure which iteration I'm on anymore. My phone's counter says it's been 11 minutes since I passed marker 246. My body says it's been years. My mind doesn't say anything coherent. I drive. I pass marker 247. I drive. I pass marker 247. Sometimes I see rescue vehicles approaching. State troopers tow trucks, ambulances. They pull over, people get out, they try to help. Then they pass marker 247 and they're in their vehicles again, approaching from the south. They don't remember stopping, don't remember me. They're in their own loops now, eternal rescue attempts, saving no one. The organs completed themselves. I don't go in the trailer anymore, but I can hear them. They've built something back there. A body, maybe, an entity, something that wants to be delivered. It knocks on the wall between us sometimes. 5 knocks, patient, persistent. It knows I'll open that door, Eve. Entuli, this loop or the next or the 10,000th. Eventually, I'll be curious enough or broken enough to let it into the cab. I still have my CB, still hear the others. We've formed a community of sorts, all trapped in our respective miles, all broadcasting to each other. There's a trucker in Montana stuck in mile 147 of I-90. Another in Nevada, mile 319 of Route 375. Dozens of us scattered across the country, trapped in duplicate miles that won't release us. We share our iteration counts, swap theories. Mostly we just talk, keeping each other company in our private infinities. Sometimes I wonder if the miles are connected, if we're all trapped in the same mile, just different manifestations. Mile 247, mile 147, mile 319, different numbers, same prison. A single impossible mile that exists everywhere and nowhere, catching drivers like flies on paper. I passed marker 247 again just now, or maybe it passed me, hard to tell anymore. The distinction between movement and stillness has broken down. I'm driving, but I'm motionless. I'm trapped, but I'm free. I'm alive, but I'm a ghost. My GPS shows me approaching Fairbanks. Arrival time, 11 minutes. It's been saying that for what feels like decades. I'll never arrive, but I'll also never stop approaching. Forever 11 minutes away. Forever in transit. Forever becoming a destination I'll never reach. Sometimes I see my family on the roadside. My daughter waving, my ex-husband holding a sign that says, "Turn around." But they're not real. They're projections, possibilities, things the mile shows me to see how I'll react. I don't react anymore, I just drive. Marker 247 is coming up again. I can see it ahead, that green sign glowing in my headlights. I've passed it so many times I've memorized every rivet, every scratch in the paint. It's more familiar than my own face, more permanent than any relationship I've ever had. This marker and I are bonded now, married, merged. I'll pass it in 3 seconds, then again in 1 minute and 47 seconds. Then again and again and again until the numbers lose meaning, until time becomes a flat circle, until I forget there was ever anything but this mile, this moment, this eternal transit through a space that won't let go. The scariest part? I'm starting to forget why I wanted to leave. Story 3, The Passenger Manifest. The hitchhiker's paperwork said he'd been dead for 6 years. I found it in my passenger seat after he got out. A death certificate, obituary, and social security termination notice, all neatly paperclipped together. The name matched. Thomas Whitmore died December 8, 2016. Exposure, body found frozen on the Richardson Highway at mile marker 89. the same stretch where I'd picked him up 30 minutes ago. My name is Marcus Chen. I drive heavy equipment between Valdez and Fairbanks, and I'd seen Thomas standing on the shoulder at 2:47 a.m. on March 23, 2023. He was wearing a light jacket, no gloves, no hat. Temperature was negative 23 degrees. He should have been dead in an hour. He'd already been dead for 6 years. He'd seemed normal enough when he climbed in. Quiet Grateful said he'd broken down a few miles back and his phone was dead. Standard hitchhiker story. I'd been driving for 9 hours and wanted company to keep me alert. He provided it. We talked about the weather, the roads, nothing important. His breath fogged the window. His hands left prints on my dashboard. He'd felt real, warm, solid. Then he'd asked me to pull over at mile marker 89, said his buddy was meeting him there with a car. I'd obliged. He'd thanked me, gotten out, and walked into the darkness. I'd waited to see the friend's headlights appear. They never did. Thomas never came back. After 15 minutes, I checked the shoulder with my flashlight. No one, no footprints in the snow beyond where he'd stepped out of my truck. Just his paperwork on my seat, placed precisely where he'd been sitting. I should have driven away. Should have reported it, dropped the documents at the next trooper station, forgotten about it. Instead, I read them, all of them. The obituary included a photo, same face, same light jacket. The death certificate listed location, Richardson Highway, mile marker 89, approximately 3:00 a.m. Cause, hypothermia and exposure. Time of death, estimated between 2:00 and 4:00 a.m., December 8, 2016. I'd picked him up at 2:47 a.m. He'd gotten out at 3:11 a.m. Different date, same location, same time window, 6 years apart. My CB crackled. Kodiak 79, this is Alaska State Trooper Dispatch, you there? I grabbed the mic, grateful for any contact. This is Kodiak 79, go ahead. We've got a bolo for a hitchhiker, Richardson Highway area. White male, brown hair, light jacket, no winter gear. Considered dangerous. Do not pick up. Do you copy? My mouth went dry. Copy, can you describe dangerous? Stand by. Silence then. Subject is deceased. Repeat. Subject is deceased. Thomas Whitmore, expired 2016. Multiple drivers report picking up his apparition. None have been harmed, but we've had complaints. If you see him, drive past. Too late for that, dispatch. I had him in my cab 20 minutes ago. Long pause. Did he leave anything? I looked at the paperwork, his death certificate and documentation. Keep it, bring it to the Glen Allen station. We're collecting them. Collecting them? How many times has this happened? Another pause longer. This'll be number 47. He gets picked up, dropped off, leaves his papers every time. I felt cold that had nothing to do with Alaska winter. Why? What's he want? We don't know, he doesn't hurt anyone, just rides and leaves evidence like he's trying to prove something. Prove what? That he's still here. The trooper signed off. I sat in my idling truck, heater blowing, staring at a dead man's obituary. Then I noticed the handwriting. In the margin of the death certificate, neat blue ink. I'm not the only one. I hadn't seen Thomas write anything. The pen hadn't been there when he was, but the ink was fresh. I touched it and it smeared. I checked the obituary more carefully, more margin notes. Check your other passengers. Look at old receipts. Count how many people you've carried. The handwriting deteriorated through the notes, starting neat and becoming frantic. The last one, scrawled across the bottom of the Social Security notice, "You've been carrying us for years." My logbook was in the side pocket. I kept meticulous records, every trip, every load, every expense. I also tracked passengers, not officially, just personal notes. Hitchhikers were rare this far north, but when you gave someone a ride in -20 weather, you remembered them. I started reading backwards through dates. February 17th, picked up a woman near Paxson, drove her to Glen Allen. I remembered her Rachel something, broke down, waiting for a tow. I'd seen the tow truck arrive, seen her wave thanks. That was confirmation she existed, right? I kept reading. January 3rd, picked up an old man near Tonsina. December 12th, young couple near Copper Center. November 8th, another woman near Willow Creek. 18 hitchhikers in 4 months. That seemed like a lot now that I was counting. The Richardson and Glen highways weren't exactly high-traffic routes. I pulled out my phone, started Googling names I'd noted. The old man, Gerald Pierce, found an obituary immediately. Died November 2nd, 2019, heart attack, Glen Highway mile marker 118, near Tonsina, where I'd picked him up. The young couple, David and Jennifer Hartley. Died together June 15th, 2018, car accident, Richardson Highway mile marker 95, near Copper Center, where I'd picked them up. One by one, every name I checked came back dead. Not recently dead, years dead, some a decade or more, all died on the same highways where I'd picked them up, all during winter. All between 2:00 and 4:00 a.m. And I'd carried them, talked with them. They'd breathed my air, touched my truck, left warmth and moisture and weight. They'd been real. My CB erupted with voices, not dispatch other drivers. Anyone else picking up dead people? Had 3 passengers last week, all ghosts, all left paperwork. Found death certificates in my sleeper cab. I live alone, doors were locked. The chatter went on for 10 minutes. Dozens of drivers reporting the same phenomenon. The dead hitchhiking across Alaska, leaving proof of their deaths, being carried by unknowing truckers through the night. A fleet of ghost passengers riding the highways, trying to reach destinations they'd never made it to in life. I checked my side mirror and my heart stopped. The passenger seat wasn't empty. Thomas was there, still there, sitting exactly where he'd been, staring straight ahead, not moving. I whipped around to look directly. The seat was empty, looked back at the mirror. Thomas was there, clear as day, hands folded in his lap. "Mirrors show the truth," my own voice said. I hadn't spoken. The voice came from the CB, but it was me, my inflection, my tone. "You've been carrying us in reflections. We ride in the spaces between real and seen." I looked at my passenger window. In the reflection, I saw my cab was full. 10 people, 15, 20, all crowded in the passenger side, sitting on top of each other, standing in spaces too small for bodies. All staring forward, all silent, all dead. I looked directly, just my empty truck. Looked at any reflective surface, mirrors, windows, my phone screen, they were all there. My cab was a mass grave of hitchhikers, and I'd been carrying them for months without knowing. "Why?" I asked the empty cab. "What do you want?" Thomas answered, voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. "We're stuck, died in transit, never arrived, we're trying to finish our journeys. You're our last chance. Every driver who picks us up carries us a little farther. Eventually, maybe, one of you will take us all the way." "All the way where's?" "Home, wherever that was, we don't remember anymore. We just know we never got there. We've been trying for years, decades. Some of us died in the 70s, still riding, still trying." I felt sick. "How many are in this truck right now?" 43, you're a popular driver, Marcus. You always stop. You're kind. We've been accumulating. Every ghost you pick up stays until they recognize their destination. None of us have recognized it yet. I looked in my rear view. The sleeper cab behind my seat was packed with bodies. Men, women, children, elderly, all pressed together, all staring forward through my windshield, watching the road scroll past, waiting for something familiar. "Get out," my voice was shaking. "All of you get out now." "We can't, you invited us in. One by one you stopped and offered rides. That's permission, that's binding. We stay until we arrive." I grabbed the death certificates, rolled down my window, threw them out into the snow. "I take it back. I revoke permission. Get out of my truck." In my mirror, they smiled. 43 dead faces smiling in unison. "Doesn't work that way. You'll carry us until you can't anymore, until you join us. Then you'll ride with the next driver and the next, trying to get home." I drove. What else could I do? I drove through the night with 43 ghosts in my mirrors, and every reflective surface showed me my cab wasn't mine anymore. I was the minority passenger in a truck full of the dead. At mile marker 115, I saw another hitchhiker. Woman, middle-aged, no coat. I knew she was dead. Knew she'd been dead for years. My foot moved to the brake automatically. Habit. Kindness. 23 years of stopping for stranded travelers. "Don't," Thomas said from the passenger seat that remained empty when I looked directly. "Don't stop, Marcus. There's no more room. If you pick up one more, we'll have to make space. And the only way to make space is if someone finishes their journey. Someone reaches their destination. No, someone gives up. Someone becomes the road instead of a passenger. Someone stops trying to get home and starts becoming part of the highway. It's happening to Gerald. He's fading. Soon he'll just be pavement, a memory trapped in asphalt, and there'll be room for the next ghost. I looked in my mirror at the old man I'd picked up in January. He was translucent now, barely visible, more suggestion than form. His eyes were empty. He'd stopped watching the road. He was done. I drove past the woman, watched her in my mirror as she grew smaller, still standing there with her thumb out, waiting for someone else to be kind. Someone else to damn themselves with compassion. The CB was constant chaos now. Drivers screaming about passengers they couldn't see, about reflections that didn't match reality, about feeling crowded in empty cabs. Some were crying. Some were laughing. Some had stopped talking, just left their CBs open, broadcasting the sound of labored breathing. Or maybe it wasn't their breathing. Maybe it was the passengers. I made it to Fairbanks at 6:47 a.m., delivered my load. The dispatcher noticed something wrong, asked if I was sick, if I needed to see a doctor. I looked like death, he said. I laughed at that. Death was in my truck. Death had been riding with me for months. I was just the chauffeur. I checked my mirrors before leaving the depot. They were all still there. 43 pairs of eyes watching the road. Waiting. Still trying to get home after years of riding, years of watching highways scroll past, years of being so close to destinations they could no longer remember. Gerald was gone, faded completely. 42 passengers now. I drove south back toward Valdez, and at mile marker 89 I saw Thomas standing on the shoulder again. Same light jacket, same position, same time, 2:47 a.m. somehow, even though it was mid-morning. He wasn't waiting for me. He was waiting for the next driver, the loop complete. He'd ride with them, leave his paperwork, get out, and be right back here waiting for the next ride. Forever hitchhiking. Forever trying. Forever stuck in the same stretch of highway where he died. I see her now at mile marker 115. Every trip. The woman I didn't pick up. She's always there, always waiting, and every time I pass, I feel relief and guilt in equal measure. Relief that I didn't add to my collection. Guilt that she's still standing there. My mirror shows 42 passengers, soon to be 41. The young couple is fading now, holding hands as they dissolve, becoming highway together. They'll be gone soon. Room for 2 more. I've stopped being kind. I don't pick up hitchhikers anymore, no matter the weather. I drive past them all, watching in my mirrors as they recede into the night. Someone else will stop. Someone else will carry them a few miles closer to destinations they've forgotten. But I still have 42 goes. TS in my truck. 42 sets of lungs breathing my air, 42 bodies pressing against reality in the spaces only mirrors can see. They're patient. They've been dead for years. They can wait years more. I just hope I reach my own destination before I fade like Gerald. Before I become transparent, then translucent, then nothing. Before I stop being the driver and become part of the highway. I hope I get home, wherever that is. I'm not sure I remember anymore. Story 4, the last fuel stop. The fuel gauge was showing full when I ran out of gas. I watched it happen, needle buried in F digital display reading 287 miles to empty, engine coughing, dying, my truck rolling to a stop on the Seward Highway with mountains on one side and ocean on the other and absolutely nowhere to go. The gauge didn't move, still showed full, still insisted I had hundreds of miles left. But my engine was dead, tank empty, and the last fuel stop I'd passed was 83 miles back. My name is Patricia Sullivan, March 15, 2023. I was hauling frozen seafood from Homer to Anchorage, a route I'd driven 400 times in 11 years. I knew every mile, every curve, every fuel stop. There were 3 stations between Homer and Anchorage. I'd passed all 3, all closed, not just closed, gone. The first station at mile marker 112 had been a Shell. I'd fueled there 1,000 times, knew the owner's name, knew which pump ran slow. I'd driven past an empty lot. No pumps, no building, no sign it had ever existed, just gravel and weeds and a foundation that looked decades old. The second station, mile marker 89, should have been a Tesoro, found a boarded-up ruin. Windows shattered, roof collapsed, gas pumps torn out, leaving rust-stained concrete. It looked abandoned for years, but I'd fueled there 6 days ago. The third station, mile marker 47, was supposed to be a 24-hour truck stop. I'd been planning to fuel there, had enough to make it comfortably. Instead, I'd found burned wreckage, not fresh. Old, blackened wood and twisted metal and char marks so faded they'd clearly been there for seasons. No smell of smoke, no heat, just ancient destruction. 3 fuel stops, all gone, and my tank was empty despite my gauge insisting otherwise. I tried my CB. Breaker 19, this is Ice Road 33, out of fuel on the Seward Highway, mile marker 32, requesting assistance. The response came immediately. Ice Road 33, this is Glacier 67, I'm also out of fuel. Mile marker 32, Seward Highway, are you seeing me? I looked around, empty highway, no other trucks. Negative, Glacier 67, I don't see you. Same here, I'm alone, but we're in the same place, same mile marker. A third voice joined. Make that 3. Kodiak 82, no fuel, mile marker 32, all stations gone. How long have you been stuck? 20 minutes, I answered. 3 hours, the second voice said. 2 days, the third voice whispered. I've been here 2 days, no one's come, nothing's passed, I'm almost out of food. My hands were shaking. Dispatch, this is Ice Road 33, we have a situation on the Seward Highway. All stations are closed, a fourth voice interrupted. Professional, calm, definitely not dispatch. They've been closed for quite some time, you should have refueled before entering the corridor. What corridor, who is this? The collection corridor. You entered at mile marker 112. You'll remain at mile marker 32 until you're processed. Processed for what? Silence, then the voice returned. The road requires fuel, you're empty, you'll remain empty until you pay the toll. I got out of my truck, battery-powered flashlight in hand. Temperature was 38 degrees, mild for Alaska March, but I was shaking like it was below zero. The highway was empty in both directions. No headlights, no taillights, no ambient glow from Anchorage that should have been visible 32 miles north. I checked my tank, tried the fuel cap. It opened normally. I shined my light inside. The tank looked full, gasoline gleaming in my flashlight beam, sloshing gently. I could smell it, sharp, chemical, unmistakable. My tank was full of fuel, but my engine wouldn't start, wouldn't even turn over. I tried my phone. No signal. GPS showed my location correctly, Seward Highway, mile marker 32, but the map was wrong. The highway on my screen didn't match reality. My GPS showed stations that weren't there, towns that didn't exist, roads that branched off into impossible directions. It showed me surrounded by options, by civilization, by help that didn't exist when I looked up from the screen. A sound made me turn. Another truck was approaching from the south, headlights bright, engine roaring. Relief flooded through me, company, help, someone who might have fuel. The truck passed through me, literally through. I felt the cold wash of its displacement, the pressure wave, the sound Dopplered past my ears. But it didn't hit me. Ent swerve didn't exist in the same space I did. I watched it continue north, taillights receding, and realized it never slowed. Never saw me. The driver was in a different version of the highway, one where their truck still worked, one where they hadn't run out of fuel yet. They're still in transit, the calm voice said from my CB. You're in collection, different states. You won't see each other until they stop. When I stop, what? When you run empty. Everyone runs empty eventually. Then you're here with us, with me. I ran to my trailer. If I couldn't drive, I could still access my cargo. Inside were 8 tons of frozen halibut, king crab, salmon, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. More importantly, my reefer unit ran on diesel. Separate tank. Maybe I could siphon it, get enough fuel to reach Anchorage. I opened my trailer. Empty, completely empty. My cargo was gone. 8 tons of seafood vanished. The trailer was spotless, freshly cleaned, like it had never carried anything. No, not empty. There was something written on the interior wall in what looked like ice crystals. The toll must be paid. I ran back to my cab. My logbook was on the passenger seat, open to today's date, but the writing wasn't mine. Neat, precise handwriting filled the pages. Patricia Sullivan entered collection corridor 1843, mile marker 112. Cargo value $340,000. Insufficient. Toll unpaid. Status collecting. Insufficient for what? What toll? The CB crackled. Your cargo's not enough, said Glacier 67, the second driver. Mine wasn't either. They took it all, 40,000 pounds of gravel, and said I still owed. They're collecting the truck now. Collecting how? Piece by piece. It started with my cargo, then my trailer started disappearing. Walls, floor, ceiling just gone, not destroyed, erased, like it never existed. Now it's taking my cab. The sleeper compartment vanished an hour ago. My passenger seat is going, I can see through it. I checked my mirrors, my trailer looked solid, but when I walked back to look directly, it was flickering. There one moment, transparent the next, phasing in and out of existence. Each time it phased back, there was less of it. The rear doors were gone, then the back 3 feet of the trailer, then 6 feet. My trailer was being erased from the back forward, eaten by nothing, consumed by absence. I ran north on foot. If I couldn't drive, I'd walk. 32 miles to Anchorage, I could make that. 6-7 hours, I'd done longer hikes. I made it to mile marker 33, turned to look back. I was standing next to my truck, exactly where I'd started. My fitness tracker showed I'd walked 1.3 miles. The highway showed I'd walked 50 yards, then looped back instantly. I tried again, ran this time, pushed myself. Mile marker 34 appeared ahead. I crossed it, turned, standing next to my truck at mile marker 32. Tried south, same result. The highway was a loop, a trap, a mile of road that wouldn't release me. I was stuck at mile marker 32 until I paid a toll I didn't understand with currency I didn't have. My trailer was half gone now. I could see through to the highway beyond. The remains looked chewed, not cut. Jagged edges where solid matter transitioned to nothing. And the nothing was spreading, creeping forward into my trailer's remaining length, eating it inch by inch. What is it? I screamed at the empty highway. What do you want? What's the toll? The calm voice answered. The road requires fuel. You're a vehicle, you're fuel. Understanding hit like a physical blow. The toll wasn't money, wasn't cargo. The highway was eating my truck, consuming it, using it as fuel to continue existing. My truck was being digested. How do I stop it? You don't. Everyone runs empty. Everyone gets collected. Everyone pays the toll. Your truck first, then. Then what? Silence. I looked at my body. My hands, my skin, normal, solid. But I remembered Glacier 67 saying his truck was being erased. Remembered him saying it started with cargo, then trailer, then cab. I remembered he'd been here 3 hours. Kodiak 82 had been here 2 days. What came after the cab? What did the road consume when there was no more truck? I grabbed my CB. Kodiak 82, are you there? The driver who's been here 2 days. Static, then a voice I barely recognized as human. Thin, distant, like it was being broadcast from a great depth. Still here, don't have much left. Truck's gone, all gone. Now it's taking me. Started with my legs. Can't feel them, can't see them. They're just not there when I look down. Jesus Christ. Tried to drag myself. Can't. Nothing to drag with. It's working up. Knees gone now. Waist is starting. I can feel it. Doesn't hurt, just stops. Parts of me just stop existing. Can't describe it better. It's like being erased from the bottom up. My trailer was completely gone. Just my cab and tractor unit remained, and they were flickering. Transparent, I could see Thraug. My own door to the highway beyond. I thought frantically. The gauge showed full. The tank held fuel. The disconnect was between the tank and engine, like the highway had severed the connection. What if I manually reconnected it? I crawled under my truck with tools from my emergency kit. Found my fuel line. It looked normal, solid, attached. But when I touched it, my hand passed through. The fuel line existed and didn't exist simultaneously. I was feeling phantom machinery, ghost equipment that looked real but had no substance. I tried anyway, disconnected the line, felt resistance, felt the snap of clamps releasing even though my hands were passing through the metal. Connected it to my fuel filter, then to my engine. The connections held, looked solid. I could see fuel flowing through transparent hoses. I tried the ignition. The engine turned over, caught, roared to life. My gauge dropped immediately, full to 3/4 in seconds, then half, then quarter. I was burning fuel at an impossible rate, the tank draining faster than it should, like my truck was hemorrhaging gasoline. I threw it in gear and accelerated. The truck lurched forward. I watched my gauge drop, eighth of a tank, empty light on, needle buried below E. My engine was running on nothing, combusting absence, burning through the last molecular traces of fuel. Mile marker 33 appeared in my headlights. I held my breath, passed it. Mile marker 34, 35, I was moving, escaping, the loop was broken. My engine died at mile marker 36. 4 miles. I'd bought 4 miles with phantom fuel. My gauge showed completely empty now, the digital display reading instead of a number. I coasted, made it another quarter mile before stopping, grabbed my CB. I broke out, mile marker 36, I'm past the collection zone. No, the calm voice. You're still collecting, you're just a different mile marker now. The corridor has moved with you. It's always mile marker 32 when you're here. The numbers change, but the location doesn't. You're still being collected. I checked my mirrors. My cab was transparent. I could see through my steering wheel, through my dashboard, through my own hands when they passed over dark surfaces. I was disappearing with my truck. We were being consumed together. A vehicle approached from the south. I waved frantically, jumped out of my fading truck, stood in the highway, arms up. The vehicle was a pickup truck, civilian, some family probably heading to Anchorage. They'd help. They'd see me. They'd call for rescue. The truck passed through me. I felt the cold, felt the displacement, felt the driver's attention pass over me without seeing. I was a ghost to them, already erased enough that I didn't exist in their version of reality. More vehicles passed, dozens of them, all phasing through me, through my truck, through the space we occupied. We were between states, not real enough to interact with but not gone enough to fully disappear. Trapped in collection, becoming fuel, being digested by a highway that was somehow impossibly alive. My legs went first. Glacier 67 was right. It didn't hurt, just stopped. I looked down and saw nothing below my waist, not stumps, not blood, just nothing. My perspective was normal, like I was standing, but there was no physical substance below my hips. I'd been edited out of reality from the bottom up. I couldn't feel the ground, couldn't feel anything, but I hadn't fallen. I was floating at standing height, like the memory of my legs was enough to keep my torso upright. It continued, waist gone, lower chest. I watched my body disappear inch by inch, erased by absence, consumed by the toll I couldn't pay. My truck was completely transparent now, barely visible outline in the moonlight. In another hour, it would be gone completely. In another hour, I would be gone completely. I'm still broadcasting. That's all I have left, my voice on the CB, transmitted from a mouth that's starting to fade. Other drivers are responding, asking my location, promising help. But they won't find me. I'm not on their highway anymore. I'm in the collection corridor, being processed, being consumed, being turned into whatever fuel this road needs to continue existing. My chest is going, arms starting. I can't feel the CB mic in my hand, but I'm still talking, still broadcasting. Maybe that's all I'll be soon. A voice on the radio warning drivers about fuel stops that don't exist, about corridors that collect, about highways that consume their travelers. Mile marker 32. If you're on the Seward Highway and your gauge shows full but your engine dies at mile marker 32, you're here. You're being collected. Your toll is due. And the toll is everything. Story 5, the convoy that never stopped. The convoy had been dead for 12 hours when they turned left at the junction. I'd been following them for 37 miles, watching their taillights, listening to their empty CB chatter, and I'd counted the hours since I'd watched them die. All 4 trucks, all 8 drivers and passengers, died at 6:18 a.m. in a black ice pileup on the Glen Highway, and now at 6:47 p.m. they were driving like nothing happened. Turn signals blinking, speed steady at 63 miles per hour, maintaining perfect following distance. My name is David Torres, May 9th, 2023. I was hauling construction materials from Anchorage to Talk, and I'd been behind the convoy when it happened. 4 trucks carrying pipeline equipment traveling together for safety in late spring weather. They'd hit the ice at mile marker 147, one after another, chain reaction destruction. I'd barely stopped in time. watched them accordion jackknife roll, watched diesel fuel spray across 3 lanes and ignite. Watched fire consume 4 trucks in less than a minute. I'd seen bodies, saw them burning. Called 911, grabbed my fire extinguisher, tried to help, but the heat was too intense, the fire too fast. I'd stood there helpless while 8 people died. Heard some of them screaming for maybe 30 seconds, then just fire and silence and smoke. Emergency vehicles arrived 23 minutes later. Fire department, state troopers, ambulances that came too late. They'd confirmed it, 8 fatalities, identified all drivers and passengers, covered the bodies, started investigating. I'd given my statement, provided dashcam footage, been told I could continue my route. The wreckage would be cleared by afternoon. I'd driven past the crash site at 2:30 p.m. Saw the charred remains being loaded onto flatbeds. Saw the black scorch marks across all 3 lanes. Saw the memorial bouquets already appearing on the shoulder, 8 bundles of flowers for 8 dead drivers. At 3:15 p.m., I'd seen 4 trucks approaching in my mirrors. Same configuration as the convoy. Same paint jobs, same company logos. They'd pulled alongside me, formed up, settled into traveling formation. I'd checked my CB, heard them chatting, discussing weather, routes, road conditions. Using the same voices I'd heard screaming at 6:18 that morning. I'd tried to contact them. Breaker 19, this is Silverado 44 to the westbound convoy, do you copy? One had answered, Silverado 44, this is Pipeline 23, go ahead. Pipeline 23, you boys are looking good for having been in a crash this morning. Silence, then, negative Silverado, we haven't been in any crash, roads are clear, making good time. You sure about that? Because I watched you burn all 4 trucks this morning. Mile marker 147. Longer silence. You're mistaken, we're fine, everything's fine, just making our delivery. They'd continued driving. I'd continued following, tried to convince myself I was wrong, that these were different trucks, different drivers, just coincidental resemblance. But the license plates matched my dashcam footage. Same numbers, same trucks, same dead drivers. At mile marker 89, they'd pulled into a rest stop. All 4 trucks synchronized, parking in a neat line. I pulled in behind them, heart hammering. The drivers got out. I recognized every face from the body bags, recognized the burns they should have had, but their skin was intact. They were laughing, stretching, talking, living. I approached the nearest one, James Carter. He turned, yeah, do I know you? I saw you die this morning. His smile didn't waver. Sorry, friend, I think you've got me confused with someone else. I'm fine. You and 7 others burned in a pileup. I watched. I tried to help. He looked at the other drivers. They'd stopped talking, all turning to face me. 8 pairs of eyes, empty eyes. The laughter had stopped, but the smiles remained, stretched too wide, frozen. We're fine, James said. Making our delivery, we have a schedule to keep. You're dead. We're fine. They returned to their trucks in perfect synchronization. 8 drivers moving as one, climbing into cabs, starting engines. They pulled out of the rest stop together, reformed their convoy, continued west. I stood there watching their taillights disappear, then checked the rest stop garbage can. Found coffee cups they'd thrown away. Still warm, fresh, real. I followed. What else could I do? Call the police and say what? Dead men are driving trucks. I had dashcam footage of the crash, of the bodies, but I also had current footage of those same men walking, talking, driving. Evidence proving they were simultaneously dead and alive. At mile marker 47, they stopped for fuel, all 4 trucks. They pulled into a station that had been abandoned for 3 years. I'd passed it 100 times, always empty, pumps removed, building boarded up. But now it was operational, lights on, pumps working. An attendant came out to help them. The attendant had no face, not disfigured, not masked, just absent. Where features should have been was smooth skin, unbroken, but somehow the trucks got fueled. Money was exchanged, receipts were printed, and I watched it all P-pen from the highway, too afraid to pull in. The convoy continued. At the junction of the Glen and Talk cutoff, they turned left, north toward Glen Allen instead of east toward Talk. Wrong direction. Their delivery was east. I'd heard them discussing it on the CB pipeline equipment bound for talk, but they turned north, all 4 trucks, perfect synchronization. I followed them north. They drove for hours, never stopping, never slowing. The sun set. Headlights carved tunnels through darkness. I tried the CB repeatedly. Pipeline convoy, you're heading the wrong direction. Talk is east. Pipeline 23 answered every time. We're fine, making our delivery right on schedule. You're going north. We're going to our delivery. Which is where? Where we're supposed to be. The convoy drove through towns that didn't exist. I saw lights, buildings, gas stations, all populated with people who had no faces. Smooth skin where features should be. They waved at the convoy. The dead drivers waved back. Everyone smiling, everyone fine. At what should have been Glenallen, the convoy turned west, onto a road that shouldn't exist. My GPS showed empty wilderness, no highways, but here was 4 lanes of perfect asphalt cutting through forest. The convoy drove it like they'd driven it 1,000 times, confident, steady, following a route they knew. I followed. The forest grew denser. Trees pressed close to the highway, branches reaching over the lanes, creating a tunnel of wood and shadow. My headlights couldn't penetrate far. The darkness here was absolute beyond 20 feet. The convoy's taillights were my only reference. 4 sets of red lights, steady, unwavering, leading me deeper into impossible forest on an impossible road toward an impossible destination. My CB crackled. You shouldn't have followed us, Silverado. Where are you going? To our delivery, same place we always go, same place we've been going every day since the crash. How many times have you made this drive? Every day, every single day since we died. We wake up at 5:47 a.m., load our trucks, hit the road by 6:00, crash at 6:18, burn for 37 minutes. Then we're back in our trucks, healed, continuing, making our delivery. My blood ran cold. Every day, you die every day. Every day, same crash, same fire, same screaming. Then we're fine, everything's fine, we have a delivery to make. You're trapped in a loop. We're fine. You're dead. We're making our delivery. The forest opened suddenly into a clearing. In the center was a facility that couldn't exist. Massive, sprawling, hundreds of loading docks and warehouse buildings, all lit with sodium lamps that turned everything orange. Hundreds of trucks were parked in neat rows, thousands of trucks, all different makes, models, eras. Some looked decades old. Some were contemporary. All had drivers moving between them, loading, unloading, maintaining schedules. The convoy pulled into 4 adjacent docks. Drivers got out. Faceless workers approached with forklifts and equipment. The unloading began, everything synchronized, efficient, purposeful. I parked at a distance and walked into the facility. No one stopped me. The faceless workers ignored me completely. I walked between trucks, reading license plates, checking company names. Found a Peterbilt that had to be from the 1970s based on the model. Found a modern Tesla semi, found everything in between. Decades of trucks, decades of drivers, all moving like choreographed dancers. Found a bulletin board near one of the buildings. Posted schedules, delivery manifests, route information, dates going back to 1973. 50 years of deliveries, all to this facility. All listing arrival times and departure times, all ending with status, delivered. But nothing ever left, I could see that. Trucks arrived constantly. I watched 3 more convoys pull in while I stood there, but none departed. The parking lot was full of trucks that would never leave, driven by people who would never go home. I found James Carter unloading pipe from his trailer. You're trapped here. He didn't look up, making a delivery. You've delivered, your trailer's almost empty. When do you leave? When we're finished. When's that? He finally looked at me. His eyes were completely black, not just pupils, entire eyes, black pools that reflected nothing. When we're finished, when we've completed the delivery, when we've unloaded everything. You're unloading now, I see it happening. We're making our delivery. I grabbed his shoulder. James, listen to me. You died this morning, you burned. You're not making a delivery, you're trapped in a death loop repeating the same day. This facility isn't real. None of this is real. His head rotated 180 degrees. Not his body, just his head, turning backward on his neck with a sound like grinding gears. He smiled with his face backward, black eyes staring. "We're fine." I ran, sprinted back to my truck, engine already running, threw it in gear and accelerated out of the facility. The faceless workers didn't try to stop me. The dead drivers didn't pursue. They just continued their deliveries, unloading cargo that would never end, making schedules that would never complete, trapped in a facility that consumed trucks and drivers and time. I found the forest road and drove east, away, not caring where it led as long as it led out. The road twisted, turned, branched into dozens of directions. I took rights randomly, then lefts, trying to find my way back to the Glen Highway, back to reality. Headlights appeared behind me, 4 sets. The convoy was following. I accelerated. They matched my speed. I pushed to 80, 90, sliding on dirt roads that shouldn't support these speeds. The convoy stayed behind me, perfect following distance, never gaining or losing ground. My CB crackled. "You witnessed our death. That makes you part of it. You have to come back. You have to make the delivery." "I'm not dead." "Neither were we until we were. Neither are you until you are. Come back, join us, make your delivery, everything's fine." I pushed to 100. My truck was screaming, engine redlining, suspension hammering over ruts and rocks. The convoy maintained distance effortlessly. Ahead I saw lights. The Glen Highway, civilization. I aimed for it, praying it was real and not another faceless town. I burst onto the highway at mile marker 89, the same rest stop where I'd talked to James Carter. Real traffic surrounded me instantly. Real drivers with real faces. I slammed on my brakes, skidded to a stop on the shoulder. Looked in my mirrors. The forest road was gone, just trees and wilderness where I'd emerged from. The convoy was nowhere. I checked the time. 6:47 p.m., exactly 12 hours since the crash. I'd lost no time in the facility. However long I'd been driving through impossible forest, no clock time had passed. My CB was silent. I tried calling the convoy, no response. Tried other channels, other frequencies, nothing, they were gone. I drove to talk, completed my delivery. Normal, uneventful, tried to convince myself it was hallucination, stress from witnessing the crash, trauma creating elaborate fantasy. But my truck was filthy, caked in mud and forest debris from roads I couldn't have driven. My tires were worn, suspension damaged. Something had happened. The next morning at 5:47 a.m., I woke to my CB activating by itself. "Good morning, Silverado 44, join us today. We're loading up, making our delivery. Everything's fine." It was Pipeline 23. James Carter still dead, still driving, still making deliveries. Every morning since, same thing. 5:47 a.m., my CB activates. The convoy invites me to join them, make the delivery. Everything's fine. I see them sometimes on the road, always at a distance. 4 trucks in perfect formation heading toward destinations that don't exist. They wave when they see me, all smiling, all fine. I changed routes, stopped driving the Glen Highway. It doesn't matter, they find me. Different highways, different states, doesn't matter. I'll see them in my mirrors, 4 sets of taillights maintaining perfect following distance. I'll hear them on my CB discussing weather and roads and schedules. And every invitation ends the same way. Join us, make your delivery, everything's fine. I'm starting to believe them. It would be easier to believe them. To accept that everything's fine, to join the convoy, to make the delivery that never ends. To die and continue driving, trapped in purpose, eternally delivering cargo to a facility that exists nowhere. Sometimes I want to. Sometimes I'm so tired I almost turn around, find that forest road, drive back to the facility. Accept that I'm dead or will be dead or am already dead and just don't know it yet. But I keep driving. Away, always away. Even though I know they're behind me. Even though I know that every day at 5:47 a.m. I'll hear them calling. Even though I saw my own truck in that facility's parking lot, empty and waiting, space already reserved. Everything's fine, they say, and maybe it is. Maybe being fine is just another word for being dead and not caring anymore.